Hello, hello. This is Connor on Connor's Retribution Analysis, and we have the Gorten Soldiers of Fortune list that we've been seeing a lot on the channel against my pretty standard Vyros 2 list. My opponent goes first. He gets pretty far up the board, and I go next, and I can move my entire army into his feet range. With the Ironhead being able to crane him 2 forward, it's 16 unless he has something to charge. So I try and play around that and bait an early feat. And the core concept is that if he wants to push me back, then my models that I put in his feet range will hit models that are outside of his feet range and won't have very much effect. If he wants to push me to the side, same thing. They're going to catch on this side of the house and be just fine. If he wants to push me to this side, same deal. They're going to run into the objective. And if he wants to pull me forward, they're going to run into the house. To sweeten the pot, I do put a couple of Griffons that I am happy for him to do whatever he wants to with. Freebie Griffons is a good way to call them. Imperitus is in, but if he gets feeded on, he goes absolutely nowhere. This Manticore on the right is out because I do not want him to have a Manticore. So basically, if he comes up and feats, he's putting himself right in front of my entire army, and he'll be able to mess around with a couple of Griffons and catch some of my models, but my models won't have the crazy push. So that's kind of what I give him. I want my Arcanist to be set up. These Arcanists are exactly 6 away from this zone, so they can walk into there and hand out focus if needed. And these guys can also hop into that zone, and that's kind of what I'm going for. D-cell is up. I fully expect to have a swarm of Steelheads form like a little line right there, and then probably several other lines all the way back. In that expectation, I have a concave of Griffons, and I have Fane Knight to be able to walk in there, hit something, and reposition out of the way. So that's kind of how I'm set up and what I'm thinking about too for this setup. So his turn, he looks at it and he's like, oh, that's not a good feat. So he obviously doesn't feat. However, being Gorten and me being a melee list, he does absolutely need to threaten the feat that will end the game. So he takes himself, and this is the end of my turn here, by the way. This is how I settle things. But he takes himself and he walks right behind that rock wall. And he put Alexia right here behind the house, and he put another rock wall like that. And the idea is that the rock wall that's right here is going to make it so that there's nowhere for a Griffon to walk around and land next to Alexia. And more or less I have to try and shoot her to death with Rap 5s when she's a defense 19. And doing so will very badly expose a Manticore or Imperitus or something. So pretty good play, pretty good attrition, little setup right there. And then as expected, he starts flooding in the Steelheads. The Steelheads on the left flood in all the way around this Griffon, and the heavy cav come and line up behind the Steelheads to kill pretty much whatever is going to be in this zone. The way his Steelhead cav are positioned, I'll just show you. There's nowhere really in the zone I can be without taking flank Steelhead charges. His 2 volley guns, just to be annoying, put out covering fire templates right there and set up to score this zone on the left, and he's very heavily pushed that way. These 2 gun bunnies are over here to contest, and excuse me, he's got 1 driller in Imperitus threat range, but not the other. And Strength of Granite is on the driller that is in Imperitus threat range, and his objective is Pathfinder, and so is mine. I chose Pathfinder because Imperitus and Manticores do not have Pathfinder. I do not want to spend 3 focus with Vyros 2 to give it to them. And I don't think D3 repair will be that relevant with so many Arcanists. He chooses Pathfinder because he wants to be able to charge through his own walls. And I honestly don't blame him, because if he lands the perfect Gorten feat, putting Gorten way out there and gets a little bit further up the board actually sounds really good. So this is where it settles for me. Thinking about this matchup ahead of time, it's time to choose my paths of how I want to play this game. I've thought about this matchup just a little bit when he was coming over here for about 10 or 15 minutes, and I think if he is allowed to have the feat he wants, where 4 of my Griffons and a Manticore get pulled in and crushed by a heavy cav and drillers and steelheads and gun bunnies. And then the other ones are pushed or just affected by feet and can't go anywhere. Or maybe Vyros too. Basically, if I give him feet options, he has lots of ways to beat me. He can make a scenario play, he can make an assassination play, and he can make attrition plays by pulling me in and killing me for attrition, or pushing me out of scenario with to make a scenario, or potentially if I put Vyros 2 in a bad spot, he can pull Vyros 2 in and put a driller on him. And once that clamp and drill get going and they're auto hitting, it's really bad when they're strength of granite on Vyros 2. So I'm trying to play around all those things by using, I got to choose side. I chose the side that has a wall over here, so that makes it so I will get stopped if he pushes me back. I've got a forest right here, which will slow me down if he pushes me there, and I've got an objective and a house. And all these things, and the best part about this house is it's a sideways house. It's not a straight sideways house. If it was a straight sideways house, he can push me to the left and to the right. But because it's a slanted house, if he pushes me towards a table edge and I'm stuck up against the house, it eliminates one of the table edges as being an option. So yeah. So having said all that, my theory with this game is I kind of want to take away some of his feat options. I need to put, and how I plan to do that is get either Imperitus or minimum 2 Griffons right in front of Gorten. And if I can get that right in front of Gorten, the drillers are going to have to activate first, and if I put them right in the correct places, the drillers with their 1-inch reach are going to get in the way of Gorten, and it's going to really mess with how far he can go with feet, because then the Ironhead is craning him and he's having to walk around, or maybe the Ironhead is craning the drill and then he's still having to walk around, and maybe they don't kill one of the Griffons, and so Gorten is stuck there and dice go bad, and all of a sudden if the drillers are activating before his feet turn, that means that they aren't beating the crap out of the models he wants to beat the crap out of necessarily. They're being forced to take what I put in front of them. So my options are either Imperitus clears the chaff and I put in 2 Griffons, or I put Imperitus in there himself and the Griffons clear the chaff. I start looking at it and I figure out that if I can get this pathway cleared right here, I can get Imperitus through, and after 2 sidesteps, get to Gorten and have a potential assassination run. And I think about it as like it completes the exact same goal if I fail the assassination that I wanted to for messing with his feet. So you know what? Let's just go for it. Let's make that the point of this turn. I will counter pop feet and try and put a Griffon right here stuck on I'll keep that Griffon there. Put some Arcanist right here that can slide in behind him, and just try and not give up anything on scenario, make it hard for him to use his feet, maybe burn a ton of his clock, and just make things in general difficult. And that's all if I don't fail the assassination run. Obviously, if I get the assassination run, awesome. And the reason why I'm thinking this way is I was listening to Jaden talk about a Line of Sight podcast, and he had like a high 90% assassination run against a player he considered better than him. And he went all in on the assassination run, and it failed. And he was beating himself up about it, killing himself over it, thinking about it. He said he put like 10 hours into thinking about the game. And that's the conclusion that he came up with, is that he should not have taken the assassination run. I strongly disagree. I think if you're playing a player that's better with you, and it's a over 75% assassination run, you probably take it. And you just try and set yourself up so that if it fails, you have a backup plan. Or a backup plan to get additional damage for an assassination a turn later or something like that. So I disagree with his analysis, and this game is also kind of, it's probably close to 50-50 because Gordon's on a 1 camp behind a wall, so I need 4s to hit, and I'm going to be dice +3. And he's got a lot of boxes, and I might miss one. Things happen. I think it's close to 50-50. He's also got a tough no knockdown, so he can make tough rolls for days. But hey, maybe I get him, maybe I don't. It still achieves this exact same goal that I wanted it to achieve on him. And yeah, so I go for it. How I plan on doing it is Vyros 2, sacrifices movement, pops feet, has 3 on him. Boost to hit, shoots 1 Steelhead, dead. Buys a reload, boost to hit, shoots another Steelhead, dead. Manticore sacrifices movement to shoot, becomes a rat 7. And I roll 3 for shots, starts shooting out Steelheads all over there. Griffon start walking into the fray and beating the crap out of Steelheads. The other Griffon walks over here, starts hosing down Steelheads, and pretty soon everything is eliminated, and I still have Manticore to do some shooting. And Arcanist put out focus and all that jazz. And so there's one Steelhead that's going to free strike our Imperitus. As things clear out, I start proxying it out and making sure it's going to work. I'd really like to get 4 hits there. I'm maybe like an eighth of an inch out from 4 hits with my side steps. I can't get there with 1 side step. I'm going to have to get there with 2 side steps, but that'll work. Imperitus, time to go for that. Imperitus goes flying up the board, hits the driller, sidesteps, hits the driller again. Both arms are now crippled, which is fantastic because that's, even if I fail the assassination run now, I feel like I just put him in a really awkward situation. And then Imperitus gets pretty much right up into Gorten. I'm a mat 11. He's defense 13, but 15 over the wall. I start swinging. I hit all 3 of my attacks. I put him on fire. The driller's also on fire. And the way dice work out, I mean, I don't feel like they were spiked or anything, but they were probably a little bit above average or just average dice. And for damage rolls, at least. And I don't miss any to hit rolls. And he does not pass his tough check, and Gorten dies. So that was pretty cool. Had I failed right there, the Ironhead, because Pathfinder is his objective, has to go repair that driller that has Strength of Granite on it. If it doesn't repair the driller, then the driller doesn't kill Imperitus, and it's just like an awkward Gorten situation. I think it is everything I wanted it to be. Maybe not, but there's the potential to really create some order of activation issues, gum them up, and just be annoying as hell. So I tuck this Griffon into that slot and do set up the Arcanist in the way I wanted for feet. So we have some post-game analysis, and he does a very good job of analyzing the game, and I wanted to share. I mean, he does it very quickly, too. He knows what went wrong, where things went wrong, and so from his analysis, it starts at deployment. He needed to be set up to score both of these zones, and that involves just the volley guns. They don't really have anything to do this game besides put out covering fire templates to annoy Arcanists, and score zones. So there should have been one right at the tip of each zone. And then also, his cavalry were misplaced in such a way that it's going to take them too long to get around the house, and they're not going to be able to make it into the middle of the map because they're too big and there's not enough space and they have 1-inch reach. So they needed to be deployed in this open area over here, and they needed to be able to use Relentless Charge to kind of clear that out. And that would force me to tighten up even more into this channel, but at least that way the cavalry get to play. The way they look at it now, he's going to get a charge and kill 1 Griffon with flank probably. And then I'm going to kill some more of them, and then they're going to kill another Griffon, and they're just going to be kind of irrelevant through most of the game. Just because of the way this terrain is set up. So those 2 things give him a lot more options as far as scenario goes and attrition goes, because these Steelheads really are the executioners that need to be utilized when Gorten goes for an attrition feat. And then also his gun bunnies and volley crews are worth quite a bit of points, and they are pretty much invalidated by my list not caring about guns. So he feels like he's playing 30 points down, and I don't disagree with him. This rock wall, while it prevented me from getting to Alexia, and he pointed this out, it should have been placed diagonally like so. And what that would have done is made it so there was no landing spot for Imperitus for his side steps. Because I would need to hop all the way over the wall and into there. And if he had models in front of there, and also like if he had another driller there, and if I want to put Imperitus in to try and mess up 2 drillers, that's probably a good trade. Maybe not. I don't know. That's. I think I kill a driller and a half with Imperitus, and then that driller, with like the help of the Ogrun, bokur, and some other models, kills Imperitus. But yeah, maybe both drillers should have been out of the threat ranges. And like the Ogrun bokur should have been in the way there, blocking landing spots. Or the gun bunnies. Actually, the gun bunnies probably should have been there blocking landing spots because they can activate before Gorten can and just get out of the way. That can be all they do. They don't really play much of a importance in this game. So just thinking about that, I definitely agree with him about the rock wall. And now thinking about of what he can give away that's not going to hurt him. I think the gun bunnies. They're nice for shooting down Arcanist, but pretty soon they're just going to end up falling off the board since Griffons hose them so easily. And yeah, that's where we're at. I definitely think this Gorten list has good odds of completely destroying me, and his feat is super, super scary. And a melee list like mine is pretty much exactly, I think, something that he wants to see. If I didn't get that assassination run and I didn't jam him up, which I think is something I'm going to try and do in future Gorten games to see how good of a strategy it is to him. I think if I just let Gorten have his way, the creativity of my opponent will be what does me in, and he will probably beat me. And he has in the past, most definitely. I've prepared for one or two different ways his feat can be used, and then he's used it a different way and smashed me with it. If you go back and look through my Gorten games. But enough talk. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and let me know what you guys think.